Like I say, that's why I'm the only one to ever have done this. By the way, I'm the first and only one to have done this. I did this first. I was the first to ever do this. By the way, at the Mirage Dam, basically. And that's, like I say, um, and I can tell you how to do it. It's very easy. Everything is pretty easy. Everybody was saying that they would use, like Rodney was saying that he would get the same results as me only using copper wire. And I told him, you're an idiot, Rodney. You'll never get the same results because the heat transfer from the vial back to the motors is just too much. Like the wires, because it's basically a solid current. You know, the wires are just like the vial. If without the river, the wires would have been the same temperature as the vial. It's actually kind of weird. It's where you're turning radial energy into basically power and heat. But you have the grounding rod at the vial. So the grounding rod is at the vial, and an electrode goes from the vial into the river or into the cooling source, and then it goes down to the down underneath, and then it goes into the generator, and then it goes up the generator and into the connection to the windings, and that's why everything had to be asbestos, and you have to use cast iron. That's the secret. Steel will melt. There's too much heat transfer between steel and the tantalum. It'll just melt. Your generator will just melt. So you need cast iron and tantalum wiring and a lot of it, like a big cable. Our cables were about yay big of tantalum. It was a lot of tantalum. And it was a solid wire going into the river, out of the river, and then to what's called, and I think it was a solid wire or something like that, maybe. And we might have used a stranded wire. I'm not. We might have used a stranded wire or had a couple stranded wires, but I think it was a solid wire is what we used. But I forget. It depends. We tried a couple different combinations of it. But anyway, but if you did that, like I said, we did it at the Mirage Dam, and I was the first one. That's what, I don't know why they called it Midas, the Midas touch, or whatever. Because like Midas nobody ever did that other than LS, other than me. That's how I know how it's done. It's the same process. Besides, it's the same process we do in the sun. Our star. It's a star. That's a star. It's LS star in the center of our galaxy. After my name. So, anyway, Rodney thought he could do it with copper, but you can't do it. Copper and steel motor. I'm like, and oh yeah, and he thought he could use like insulated wire and all this advanced stuff, and it's like, actually, it's not that advanced. It's actually really, 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 really just really basic. Like I said, the SR-71, by the way, is solid titanium. Like the gauges are titanium, the gears are titanium, everything in there is like titanium because the cockpit gets up to like 240 or 500 degrees inside there. So most things would start to get a little soft. That's why people marveled at it. They're like, it's a solid piece of titanium. What are you talking about? That's why everybody laughed at the one, because they're like, that is obviously aluminum. Titanium does not look like that. When they're showing Lockheed and Martin building the SR-71. First of all, it's it's LSR or LS-71. I mean LS what's it called F. It's LSF-71 for Lucifer Star Flyer 71. Second, you can obviously tell that stuff is aluminum and not titanium. And third of all, it wouldn't be a shiny metal because graphite has to be mixed in with it. Or it's a ceramic graphite. It's a special kind of stuff. It's ceramic graphite titanium shell that they use to make the SR-71 work. Otherwise, it would just make it melt. Or the heat transfer would transfer in too fast. It's actually really hard to keep the heat from going from the outside of the aircraft to the inside. But the SR-71 can practically re-enter. Like I said, the SR-71, that's what the blast shields really are, basically. The blast shields coming. The SR-71 can actually go up to space almost, or into space. Technically, if you put nose thrusters on the SR-71, you could actually go into space and then go off to the moon and back and then re-enter. The SR-71 is designed to go. It can get up to like just basic. It's in space. They would say it's actually flying in space. Actually, when it's up there really high, that's actually basically space. Like 90,000 feet, like another a little bit, and you're basically in space. That's what makes the SR-71 so special. Is that basically it's pretty much like you can go to space and back in the SR-71. It's a spaceship. That's why it's called LSF. For what it's called. Anyway. Or Lucifer, or long spaceship, long space flyer, huh? like JFK was like long space flyer. I was like, oh. Lucifer Star Flyer 71. It's a spaceship, basically. That's why the nose cone is detachable, because you can detach it. You can put nose thrusters on it and go. Because all you really need, you do kind of need back thrusters. That's another reason why the back things also come off, because you can fit thrusters on it. If it had thrusters, my scientist would say all the time, if it had thrusters, you could take it to the moon and land. Basically, that and a bottom thruster or something like that. And we were thinking about maybe doing something like that, but it's like, whatever. Anyway, yeah, but and that's what the very top one. Actually, what you do is when you get up there, you actually turn upside down. What you're supposed to do is you go up really high, and then you actually turn upside down. And then what you do is you take the aircraft a little bit higher, and then that keeps the what's called the scramjet just in the best air, and you go. That's what that center jet is for. What you do is you take that center jet, you turn it upside down, and when you're upside down, it still gets the somewhat thicker air that goes. It just needs just a little bit of air, and you're moving so fast that the scramjet is actually in the blast effect. So in theory, like I said, I don't know. You might burn the windows though. I don't know. It's really hard. Realistically, that one engine should have been on the bottom, but you can't take off with it on the bottom. So it's like, we'll see what kind of temperatures we get up there. If the temperatures are equal, then you can turn it upside down. But in theory, that's what it's for. That's the idea. I was like, because realistically, you got to keep it anyway. But because basically the outside engines kind of stop functioning, and the center top one is basically a rocket. It's like a scramjet rocket / whatever. Anyway, it only functions at extremely high speeds, like when you get up there. So anyway, theoretically, I was like, theoretically, I'm a theorist. He's a theorist. It's like, terrorist? No, theorist. I'm a theory person. In theory, a theoretical designer. LS. The magic wonder. Anyway, yeah. There's all these black people. Magic. It's like, oh. Anyway, whatever. Because I did what they thought couldn't be done. And then Rodney yelled at me and said, "You're not going to win, Brian. You're wrong. We're the new kids on the block. We're the younger, newer stuff. We know what we're doing." It's like, oh, you're an idiot. Whatever. Oh well. So rude. So annoying. And JFK was like, "Do the donkey. Do the donkey." Oh. I just want to hit myself. for being in the presence of sheer stupidity.